didn't even know this, but Illinois has one of the highest disbarment rate for Black attorneys. That's a problem. And here's the thing, you could see the disbarment things. And one thing, I had a great professional responsibility professional professor on day one. He the first thing he wanted us to learn is you can be disbarred for anything. There's no statute that's like how there's statutes that say if you get caught with this amount of crack or cocaine, it carries this amount of sentence. No, this, like when you're sitting before a bar association, they could either suspend you, reprimand you, or disbar you, and they make the decision at that time, right? And so I don't even want to put myself in that position to give 3 different people that don't even know me, because I sacrificed so much to get here. I just told you, my baby girl, she's 12 now. My son is 23. My daughter is 19. They were kids, and I was in the library 16 hours a day while she's 5 months old at home. I sacrificed a lot to get this law degree, even time away from my kids, to the point that I don't play with my license, and I'm not going to let anybody play with it. So I act, to the point where it's like, I hold a responsibility, as an attorney, but also as a Black woman who I know I'm under attack.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Smitty and D Show. Of course, I am Tony D, and in the studio, guys, we've got somebody who's going to teach us something about law, possibly, maybe. Guys, you have seen her on the IHQ network. Coming up, actually. The name of the show is called Trademark T. She also has an event coming up on March 29th called Secure Her Brand Social. She's going to tell you a little bit about that. Welcome to the studio. She's called the Biz Lawyer. Make sure I say this right. Rosezena?
Yes.
Pierce. Hey sis, how are you?
I'm good.
I just dragged you over to this interview.
It's okay.
How was your food?
It was good.
It was good.
It was better the last time, and it was like years.
Oh gosh,
that I remember. But it was.
It's the
good.
Weekdays. I'm sorry, it gets a little weird.
But Thai food is good.
So you've been an attorney for 12 years.
It'll be 12 years in May.
12 years in May. Tell me, what exactly do you practice, and why did you get into it? Because I know you used to do hair, and her hair looks amazing. But what got you into law?
Well, I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was a little girl.
Are you argumentative?
I don't think so.
Do you fight for the little people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rico might sound argumentative, but I'm not. I think, I just like to articulate my point and, just get it across. And, I do like to represent for the little people. And I've been practicing for 12 years, but I knew I either wanted to be a lawyer or a fashion buyer or a counselor.
Okay. All right.
And so,
So the next question that I have for you, which is kind of interesting, how, when it comes to law, I'm not sure all that you do, but when it comes to African Americans, how are you helping them? And what's your message to them about the institution of law?
Yeah. So I practice trademark law. And so even in undergrad, I studied intellectual property law. And it's so crazy because I finished law school, and at the time I had like 3 kids. My son was like 11, my daughter was 7, and I had a 5-month-old at the time. And so I had the impression that when I finished law school, I was going to get either a big law firm job or work for a corporation, because this is like 12 years ago, right?
Right.
And so at the time, I had to study for the bar with an infant baby at home.
Oh, gosh.
Right? Took the bar. She was 5 months old. Thank God I passed the first time. But it was very disheartening because I was also on the law review for intellectual property. And it was about 3 of us who were minorities on the law review, and we were the only 3 that didn't have any job offers. Law school is like when the kids are being drafted to the pros coming out of college, like everybody know what they're doing even before they take the bar exam. And it was just really disheartening because I didn't have any job offers. So I took the bar that February because I started in January class, graduated. I started law school the day Barack Obama became president and graduated when he was coming out of office, I believe, or he was going into his second term. I can't remember now. No, he was going into his second term when I graduated. And I took the bar, passed, and now in the state of Illinois, you have to actually get your professional responsibility before you're sworn in to get your law license.
Okay.
So now I take the bar February, find out I passed in April, don't have any job offers, but then I have to sit in this professional responsibility class, and there was a professor there. And it was like break. And I was telling him, like, this is my first time not having a job or going to school. I've been working and going to school since forever, right? And I was like, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do intellectual property. I want to be a trademark lawyer. And he said, well, you'll go a long way serving the underserved. And I said, I'm from the west side of Chicago. I don't want to do no criminal law. I've been exposed enough to that by my family and, had my days on 26 in California. I don't want to. And he was like, well, no, who's underserved in that practice area? And I said, small business owners? He said, you'll go a long way serving the underserved. And it really wasn't until maybe I'll say year 5 in my practice that it came back around for a circle. That was probably the first time in the practice that we did a 6-figure month and we did 7 figures. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I actually wanted to work at this big law firm corporate job because they were paying 6 figures, and to me that was an amazing salary. But because I was obedient and listened to what God was telling me to do, he took care of that. But not only that part, but the firm has been ranked number in the top 40 for the past 5 years, to the point whereas we're number 40 out of over 28,000 trademark law firms in the country. And I'm ranked number 8 out of 33,000 trademark lawyers in the country. But God has a funny sense of humor, because when the top 100 list came out, I don't know anybody that ranks above us. I don't even know anybody outside of us in the top 1 through 50. Wow. But when it goes through 59 through 100, I know I applied to at least 40 of those law firms to work at. And 3 of them on them are my dream jobs that I thought I really wanted to work for. And so it came full circle, thinking, the professor saying you'll go a long way serving the underserved, because I said, I was upset with God when I didn't have a job offer out of law school. But now it's okay, I see why I couldn't be below their name, because you had to have me above that name. Ooh. So I know that's a long answer, but that's where we are right now.
So what I have heard was you didn't get any job offers because you were the plug.
And I didn't even know it, but God knew. Yeah.
So right now we are going through this Black Girl Magic, right? And so women like us are in all of these professions, and we may not look the part. Right. So there's in the news recently, there was a judge. I'm not even sure what judge this was, but she's a judge, and she was caught up in the news for doing something. I think she got into a fight or something with the police. Do you remember that? Do you know her?
I don't. It was Georgia, right?
Yeah.
I almost thought it was in Illinois, because it'd be a lot of stuff going on there.
But she's from here. But she was a for real judge. She was. And she got into trouble. I guess she had gotten drunk. And,
she was drunk.
Yeah, and was look me up, that kind of thing, or didn't give her name or something. But what's the transition for women who are we don't look like the part, getting these parts? And what kind of issues could we possibly have?
I'm an 80s baby. Okay. So I was raised around the crack epidemic and things like that. So one thing we see what it do to other people. The person who inspired me to become an attorney, my godfather, who's an Italian man who was my father's best friend, his license got suspended because he was a severe alcoholic. So because of that, I don't drink. I just don't drink alcohol, So it's certain things like that, because we do have to always be a part. Sometimes I don't even announce to people that I am an attorney because they'll try to, okay, let me figure out a way to weaponize, to you know, let her, remind her she's still, you know, because we have to be on our P's and Q's at all times, right? Like I was on a panel and I have, you know, a team of people that work for me. And so it's just about leadership development as well, right? Even as a judge, as a lawyer, a doctor, like we're still in a leadership position, even if it's to the point where we're leading just for the next Black girl to become in our position. So we hold a certain responsibility that we just really have to act accordingly, because it's already, people are already waiting for us to fail, right? Surprisingly, and I didn't even know this, but Illinois has one of the highest disbarment rate for Black attorneys. That's a problem. And here's the thing, you could see the disbarment things. And one thing, I had a great professional responsibility professor on day one. He the first thing he wanted us to learn is you can be disbarred for anything. There's no statute that's like how there's statutes that say if you get caught with this amount of crack or cocaine, it carries this amount of sentence. No, this, like when you're sitting before a bar association, they could either suspend you, reprimand you, or disbar you, and they make the decision at that time, right? And so I don't even want to put myself in that position to give 3 different people that don't even know me, because I sacrificed so much to get here. I just told you, my baby girl, she's 12 now. My son is 23. My daughter is 19. They were kids, and I was in a library 16 hours a day while she's 5 months old at home. I sacrificed a lot to get this law degree, even time away from my kids, to the point that I don't play with my license, and I'm not going to let anybody play with it. So I act, you know, to the point where it's like, I hold a responsibility, you know, as an attorney, but also as a Black woman who I know I'm under attack at any given moment. So,
okay, so what about the women who get into industries, professional industries that you know that they have no business getting into, like strippers wanting to be real estate agents, and you don't know if they're selling ass or selling a home? How does that work? And I know you've seen it.
Well, I believe redemption can happen among anyone, right? Ooh. And I also believe that, you know, we grow, right? And we mature. So maybe she was a stripper at one point, but she aspired to be something else because, you know, I was a licensed cosmetologist before I became a lawyer, and I see in the beauty industry, like we on the West Side, we waking up at 7 o'clock doing 15 heads a day. You get what I'm saying? And not getting out the beauty shop to 2 a.m. in the morning. And you might not think, okay, well, she's qualified to go on and practice law, or you know, you have someone who's like my sister, who I started working with her. She's now in the medical industry where she's doing, like, you know, working with the insurance companies and medical billing and things like that, because that type of profession, whether it's a cosmetologist or it's taxing on your body. Like, you can't be a stripper forever. So I will appreciate,
because I think the Claremont would beg to differ.
But I appreciate when people just recognize growth, right? And maturity. Like, some people will never grow. They just gonna be who they are. But if you say, you know what, I had enough of this. I want some type of growth and things. I'm not mad at it as long as you go and actually educate yourself and study and learn and get the proper training you need to actually guide your clients. Like, you know, as far as real estate transactions, there's important things that you need to know in a real estate transaction to guide your client, educate your client, right? Because you don't want your clients like losing their homes on a technicality or anything like that. So as long as you get the proper education and training, I'm all for the growth.
Okay, all for the growth. Now, me personally, I have seen some interesting promotional videos of real estate agents selling homes, and you're literally like, I have no idea what's happening here.
Oh, wow.
So I think sometimes if we don't have the proper education, or at least the etiquette education, because you can get the professional education all day, but the etiquette education is the thing I think that sometimes we're missing when people cross over from one industry to another.
I haven't seen anything.
You're blessed.
Well, maybe you could send me some stuff. So
because I'm like literally like the girl is walking in and the camera's on her butt, and then you know and then there's another girl that I saw. I think she's in Houston, and she's like, I'm the such and such. I don't even know. She might be an attorney. I think she might be. I'll show you who it is. And she's got like a blazer on, and her boobs all out, and she's got like nothing on underneath, and you're just like, what is happening? Are you in a music video, or are you an attorney or selling a home? Or it just seems like we, with our different cultures, are bleeding over into other industries, and we are not educated on the etiquette. That's all.
Yeah, I think too, though. I think social media has been a gift and a curse, right? Where a lot of people are being raised by social media. You know, like I was raised by my grandmother, you know, and, you know, you just don't really have like that type of like raising or, you know, etiquette training anymore and things like that. And so sometimes, you know, people will mimic what they see on social media, but not understanding like it may be a turnoff for people who are really serious about business. I kind of seen a video just other than, and I'm just scrolling, and it was about like credit repair, and the whole video just was like a turnout to the point where I'm like, why would I get that person my social security number? Like, you know,
you do not look trustworthy,
right? Just by your marketing alone, but you know, but I do believe too, like you will attract the people that, you know, you're trying to market to. And so eventually I think that will become a educational moment for these people and things like that. Because if you know, supposed to be showing a house and you showing your butt, you know what I'm saying? A lot of what you're going to get is like people sliding in your DM, not trying to buy a house, but trying to buy some butt. So, you know, so it's just like, you gotta, you know, just be careful with that and just how you play. And you know, sometimes people be like, well, you should be yourself and you gotta be yourself. But also too, you have, when you're trying to represent people, yes, be yourself, but also it is a certain type of etiquette that you should bring to the table, because you're not just the representative of yourself if you want to be in a business where you're serving clients.
So when it comes to law, and I know business, what are some business owners missing as far as missing the mark when it comes to law? Like, what sort of things are you noticing? You're like, this is crazy. People need to know.
So I'm not just saying this because I'm a trademark lawyer, but I'm going to say it because I'm a trademark lawyer.
We might need to talk to you about Smitty and D.
Yeah, so I always ask people, will you build a house on land you don't own? Will you build a house on land you don't own? Okay, and that's always the answer I get. So then I say, okay, so why do we build businesses and brands if we don't own them? And how you properly own your business name is by going through the trademark process. A lot of people think I got my LLC, I got my corporation, I went and got an EIN number, I'm good. But that is not always the case, because you can go to your Secretary of State of, let's say, Georgia, and you can say, Georgia, I want to start a LLC under this name. The Secretary of State of Georgia is going to search within the state of Georgia to see if that name is taken. If it's not, they're going to say, okay, it's approved. You can start your LLC. But now if somebody owns that name, let's say, and their business is in the state of California, but they own a trademark, they can send you a cease and desist letter and tell you to take your business, stop using that name, even in the state of Georgia, because now they actually own the brand name on a federal level, right? And so not a lot of people know that. And so what they begin to do is they begin to build the brand. And when I say build the brand, they'll go out and get product packaging, marketing material, only for them to be forced to rebrand. And that can cost people sometimes their life savings, if not everything they have, right? I had a client who had to turn over a sign that he just paid $25,000 for, right? Just imagine if you're a restaurant and you have to go through a rebrand. That means you have to rebrand your sign, your menus, right? Your social media, all of those things. So I see the biggest misstep is where people begin to build and they don't secure first, right? They don't lock down their foundation. And now one of the first steps before we even file a trademark application is doing a research. Like when you go to buy a house or you go buy land, the first thing you're going to do is what? A title search.
Pull the title.
Exactly. And so the thing is, nobody does any research. They just be like, "Oh my God, I woke up, God gave me this name."
Yeah, you going to GoDaddy like it's free.
Right, it's free, and I'm running with it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a good thing to do, because under trademark law, you can trademark a name, you could trademark a logo, and you could trademark a slogan. So you might go to Georgia and be like, I want to trademark Just Do It LLC, and nobody will have it. But because Nike owns that slogan, and if you're trying to use Just Do It, that's going to be a problem and an issue for them. Yeah. Now, there is an exception where certain trademarks can coexist in the marketplace as long as they're not in the same trade of channel. So that's why we have Dove Chocolate, Dove Soap, Mac Makeup, Mac Computer, Delta Airline, Delta Faucet, Pandora Jewelry, Pandora Music. But there's an exception to the rule if there is considered a household name. So like somebody tried to do like a Mick Hotel, and McDonald's was able to shut them down because people could confuse and the association with McDonald's. So, it's just about educating yourself. Like we have over 5,500 clients. And I was just on the phone with my insurance broker today, and he's like, "Rosezena, it's two type of people who just be like, okay, I gotta have insurance because I gotta have it, and then it's people like, I'm looking for insurance because now something has happened." I said, "Oh, you preaching to the choir, because I'm a lawyer. People usually want to come to us when it's a fire, but do you know you can save so much money if you hire a lawyer to prevent the fire versus fighting the fire?" So we're in it too, where a lot of people are reactive instead of proactive.
Do you think it's wise to trademark your podcast name?
Absolutely.
So take me through the process, and how much does something like that cost?
So, okay, I can't speak for everybody, right? I can speak for ourselves because again, the professor said we're serving the underserved, right? So our services start at $1,697. It just increased. It used to be $1,500, but the government actually increased the filing fee just this year to where it used to be $250. It's now $350. So of course, for the cost of business, we had to increase our price as well. But, you can, you'll Google trademark my business and people will be like, "Oh, we'll do it for $200. Run." They just taking your money. The filing fee costs more than that, right? But also too, like, it just varies. I have some, colleagues that, they not even ranked in the top 100 or anything. They charge $5,000, a mark. It just depends, right?
Wow.
But that's why, I believe we're leading in this industry as it relates to the market that we are targeting and serving, because we do keep the fees affordable. And that's starting, right? So that's one trademark, one application, one class, right? But if somebody wanted to do their logo, that's an additional cost. If they wanted to add additional classes, things like that. So I try to be as transparent with people as possible, but it's worth it, because people will say, "Wow, that sounds expensive." And then I'll say, "But how expensive is it if you invested your time, your money, your resources into a brand that you don't even own, and then someone comes and snatch it from under you?"
Wow.
I think that'll cost way more.
Wow. How long is the time frame from the time they start the application to the time they get approved?
That's a good question. So the process, so with us, if you have everything you need to get done, we can usually get the application on file within 7 to 10 days. Now, if somebody called me like, "Rosezena, somebody's stealing my brand," we'll expedite the process for them. But now, once we file the application, before COVID, it used to take the government 3 to 4 months to review the application. Nice. Now it takes them 6 months. It used to be 8 months, right? So they have gotten a little better, but from beginning to end of processing with the government, if all goes well, it can take about 9 to 12 months right now, which is good because we still be in Canada. They take about 3 years to complete it, right? Whoa. But the good thing is you just want to get it on file as soon as possible, so that you have protected yourself. And it is a process.
It is a process. Why do celebrities trademark their kids' names?
That's a great question. We actually talked about it on Trademark T. First of all,
Like Blue Ivy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you should trademark your name if you are using it in connection to a product or service, right?
Okay.
So I am the Biz Lawyer, so I trademarked the Biz Lawyer. And to be honest, I was just trying to find an Instagram name. And my friend was like, girl, this name is taking off. I didn't even, because I was like, whatever. But then the Biz Lawyer became something I didn't even see it to become.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let me do this. And then right after I trademarked my name, there were all these different variations of Biz Lawyer popping up where I had to send cease and desist letters to other people using my name. And there was one, the Black Biz Lawyer. I'm like, well, hell, I'm black. What that mean? So I'm like, we gotta, so that is that. But the reason most celebrities trademark their kids' names, they trademark their names too, right, is because they don't want people to profit from their kids' name. And so let's talk about Blue Ivy real quick because, oh my God, Jay-Z. So you have a right to remain silent. We say this for a reason as lawyers because anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. And so Jay-Z goes and he does an interview. So at this time he has, Blue Ivy was born like January 2012. The reason I know because my daughter was born September 2012. And so they filed the application probably days after she was born. And then Jay-Z goes do an interview, I think, with GQ magazine, and he says, now there's two type of applications you could file. You could file either a use application or a bona fide intent to use application. Now in the U.S., you have to either want to use a trademark to file it or have a bona fide intent to use it. That's important because in places like China, it's just the first to file rule, which is also important, okay? But so Jay-Z goes to GQ magazine and he does this interview, and I guess somehow the trademark of Blue Ivy come up, and he says, well, we don't want to actually use it. We just don't want anybody else to make money from her. Okay. No, don't say that because you have to have a bona fide intent to use it, right? So then fast forward, the situation comes up with the lady who has the wedding planning business, and she opposed Blue Ivy Carter trademark, and she said it would be confusingly similar to her wedding planning business and things like that. So now they're before the TTAB, which is the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, and they want to introduce the evidence that Jay-Z has said that he didn't have any bona fide intent to use it, right? But see, this is where lawyers, we play chess and not checkers, because Blue Ivy Carter trademark was actually owned by BGK IP Holding Company, which stands for?
It's the record?
Beyonce Giselle knows. IP Holding Company. But it's fine because this is good because, this is why we incorporate those so that we insulate ourselves as individuals, as, from any legal liability and for asset protection. But also, too, it's to really kind of protect the businesses from ourselves, right? And because Jay-Z is not the actual owner of the trademark, right? The holding company is. This evidence that he said in GQ magazine is actually hearsay. So it then becomes inadmissible testimony, right? Wow. So it's dismissed. But had he was, say, Sean Carter was the owner of Blue, that could have been a very detrimental issue for it. But basically, celebrities, he said it. He didn't want people to use it. But now they're actually trying to brand her name and use it. And I mean, she has matured to a beautiful young lady who's dancing with her mommy and, appearing. So there's ways that she can now utilize the trademark. But they just recently got it approved after 12 years of going through this legal battle for their daughter's name. Wow.
That's intense. So whatever happened to the wedding?
Well, so
did she use that name before Blue Ivy was born?
She did, but she didn't file the application until after Blue Ivy was born, until after the Carters filed their trademark for Blue Ivy. And again, remember I told you, certain trademarks can coexist in the marketplace as long as they're not in the same trade of channel. And they never trademarked Blue Ivy Carter to be a wedding planner or event planner or anything like that. So there should have been no confusion in the marketplace. So her trademark went on to get registered, and then they what happens is when you file an intent to use, you have 5 6-month extensions you can file. And so they kept filing extensions, and then it died out. So then they finally refiled it again, and then the examiner this time, that's when they came up with the Wisconsin. They refused it because of the Wisconsin boutique or whatever, but they were able to overcome that office action. So finally now it got approved for publication on December 25th on Christmas Day.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that BLM can't trademark that name?
So
and white people can take that name and raise money, which actually did happen.
Yeah, it did happen. And so that's why I tell people registration is important, or filing a trademark at least before you begin to build the house, right? Because what happens is, so that's why Birdman said, if I know what I know then, I would have trademarked bling bling. Because when a statement begins to go viral, see, a trademark is a source identifier for consumers to relate back to where a product or service come from. The moment you lose the source identifier, it's no longer a trademark. So everybody is screaming Black Lives Matter, right? That's how I knew, and I don't know if I can cuss, but so that's how I knew with the White Lives Matter and the Kanye story, that was a crock of shit. And every trademark lawyer 101, and the news, the way the media ran with that, having those two guys up on the media talking about they gonna shut Kanye down from using. First of all, White Lives Matter shouldn't be able to be trademarked if Black Lives Matter can't be trademarked, right? But then furthermore, if that's really the case, if Kanye really wanted to argue, they filed an intent to use application. Kanye can show where he actually used it first, but nobody's going to get the trademark. So it was just, and if you go check that trademark now, it's dead, right? So people, and that's another thing. Sometimes people think because you file the application, you own it. It has to go through the process first. I just told you it takes like 8 to 12 months. So that's why it's really important, if you have something that's going viral and it's taken off, you secure it as soon as possible. One of our clients was Where the Money Reside. And so when he said that, immediately we had to file it because everybody was hollering Where the Money Reside. And so we wanted people to make sure they knew where that came from, because that young man, he created that statement at his job at the car lot trying to sell some cars.
Out the trunk. I remember that.
But it, it was popular and things like that. So that's why it's important that, we secure our brands. And some people are like, well, how do you know what's what? And it's like, that's business. Sometimes you're taking a risk.
So how do you know if a term is going to be popping? Like, for instance, on fleek, that should have been trademarked. What's the one that Jamie Foxx did? No, was it Jamie Foxx? It was Booty Call. Somebody said Booty Call in one of their comedy specials.
The comedy, and then they made a movie about it. Yeah.
And he could have trademarked that.
Possibly, depending on how he's using it, right? Because then, like the movie, again, because there's 45 different classes under trademark law, right? So here's the thing. Remember? What? Yes, 45. You wouldn't use all of them, but like number one is like chemicals. So nobody. I actually met this guy who does trademarks in class 1, and I was like, oh, you're a unicorn. But other than that, but remember, very cute, very demure, very mindful, right? And but somebody filed that trademark application, right? And so that was something that he came up with. All the celebrities are saying it, Serena Williams, the Kardashian kids and things. So that was something, and he probably, because if you watch his TikTok videos, he's just she's just creative with words, because she said something about I sent you a check, write it out to something. Like she's clever with words, right? But the fact that she kept like repeating and then repeating it, and people began to pick it up. Now it's time, okay, let me file. Because here's the thing, trademark process, when COVID happened, it didn't shake our industry any, because it's all virtual. It's all online.
Yeah.
So it's open 365 days a year, unless they're doing some system updates, which they like to do every Saturday at 12 midnight, as I digress. But so
she knows it, y'all.
Right. But so you got to think, like, you could be on social media saying something that's hot and then everybody running off with it. Meanwhile, someone just got to log on to the uspto.gov and get to going with the application. So it's very important that you secure, and that's my trademark, secure the brand so you can secure the bag. Essentially, that's what it is.
Do you ever reach out to people that have made these really popular statements and say, listen, you need to go ahead and trademark that before you're not able to use it? Because let me tell you, our Caucasian brothers, mostly brothers, they're real quick to trademark things when it's popping.
Yeah.
And black people will come up with it, but never think to trademark it.
And so I just don't want to seem like the avalanche chaser of
Yeah,
trademarks.
I know.
You know,
but you can make a blanketed statement, and we
Yeah.
can put it. Here's a PSA, y'all. Here, do your PSA.
Well, what I love about the bizpreneurs and what they do, any trademark related situation, they're tagging a biz lawyer on it, right? And so then they know, okay, I see it. And look, normally what they'll say is, you need to contact the biz lawyer so she can help you. So they're always, so that's one thing about having a great community and building a tribe. And another thing, this came up, like, you know, how do you serve? And I say, I serve by educating. I educate my people, right? And so now they're getting the knowledge and they're getting the gems to the point where it's like now, every time they see a post or something, they like, you need to contact the biz lawyer. You need to talk to the biz lawyer. So, and I can talk your ear off, but I'm not one that is just gonna like go out and just like, hey, but God has blessed me with a great tribe and community where they do that for me.
I love it. Yeah. Anything else you want to teach me about your industry? Because I feel like you got a lot of information.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we cover everything.
Yeah. So I think too, what is important, because this is intellectual property law, right? And recently, I will say this, we had a few clients who got hit with some demand letters for photographs, right? So say you are running an amazing business and you hire a graphic designer or you hire a web developer to create your website for you. And so now they're on, they go to these free stock images places to grab a stock image to put on your website. Well, what happens is there's some people out there called, first of all, so under copyright law,
I was going to ask you about that too.
The creator is the owner, right? So as business owners, right? So if someone takes a picture, you heard about like, Cameron getting sued for posting a picture of himself.
That someone else took.
That someone else took.
I did, yes.
Right, because technically, because she birthed the creation of that work, she's the owner of the copyright.
That's crazy.
Right? But here's the thing. So as business owners, we got to make sure people sign proper documents to transfer those rights to us, and what they're called our work for hire agreements.
Yep.
So a lot of times we will hire people to go do our logo for us and create our logo and be like, well, I paid them and told them what I wanted, so I own it. Well, no, that's not true. They actually own the copyright unless they can transfer the rights to you in writing. And the reason that is important is because a copyright lasts 70 years plus the life of the author. So even if your best friend Susie did your logo for you and she said, girl, you can do whatever you want to do with that logo, it's yours, and God forbid Susie gets hit by a bus and she has a clever estate attorney, right? And say Susie has a collective of work out there, the estate attorney can say, well, we need to fund this estate. Let me go collect royalty payments on all of Susie's work. Or better yet, say you do go to sell and you want to exit your business and your business get valuated at $300 million. And because it's valuated at $300 million because of your intellectual property, right? If someone is truly the rightful owner of your copyright, they can come and say, well, you owe me $30 million of that $300 million sale because I own the copyrights under the sale of your business, right? So it's a lot of this type of things that we don't understand. But going back to the copyright trolls, so they will intentionally drop photos, stock photos, and these free sites and things like that. And then they'll remove it. They'll try to cover their traces. And then later on, they'll send you a demand letter. Say, you owe me $30,000 because you used my photo on your post, or you used it on your website. And you'll be like, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. What picture? And then you'll be like, oh, my web designer did that. This, that. But so now, because they're claiming copyright ownership, you have to defend yourself against that. And so we call them copyright trolls. And I like people to just be aware of it and be alert of it. And, you know, if you have business insurance, sometimes your advertisement practices can be covered under your errors and omissions because of this copyright troll infringement thing. But this is a real thing that happens. I just had 3 clients since the summer get these type of letters that we have to deal with, right? And so now they have to pay us a retainer so we can go tell them, full of shit, you know, this ain't worth no 30,000 and you dropped it somewhere so that they can pick it up, right? But imagine you're somebody in business and you don't know nothing about these laws or anything, and you got somebody sending you a demand letter for $30,000. You're freaking out and you're panicking, right? So to just try to avoid that. So copyright laws is very, very important as well. So I just want to
let me just ask this question, because I'm trying to not be confused. Are you saying that they'll go to these free pages, or are you saying they're going just like Google and taking the picture?
They can go to Google. They might go to a free
like a stock image
place.
But it's free. Or you pay a membership.
It's supposed to be free, right? So membership ones are the best ones to do. But what they'll do is intentionally drop these photos out there so you can have access to use them, watch you use them, and then demand you pay them because you didn't have permission to use it.
And then the way they can find it is go through the Google search image.
Yeah, they can search the image to see if you've been using it.
Yeah, and then they can turn around and sue you for said image.
I don't think they're gonna sue,
but
they're gonna send a demand letter and threaten to sue. But here's the thing: I can't promise you they won't sue, right? They might wake up one day and say, "Yeah, I want to sue," right? Like there's a lot of patent trolls that actually sue people, so you know, and they find comfortable jurisdictions that allow these type of things to happen. So you do just want to be careful. Yeah.
My last question, and this is dealing with AI. So I know you can't. I don't know if you can trademark your face, but what I'm noticing is if I have a picture of you, I could put it in AI and I can create a whole video. And if I have your voice, I can.
I don't even want to talk about it. It's so bad. But yes, go ahead. Like, don't even get a bad people no ideas.
Right. But if I wanted to just whatever and put it out, how are the people protected? How does this fall under that umbrella?
So this is what we say, that technology is moving faster than the law, right? The law really hasn't had a chance to address it. Now, of course, we have where, you know, you can do takedown seizures and things like that, so you can report. So a lot of it happens on like Meta, Facebook, and Instagram and things like that, and they don't move as fast. Like there's one influencer right now where someone has a Facebook account of her. They're reposting all her stuff. They're they're monetizing off of this fake account. People are sending them all type of stuff, and it's not even her account. And the thing is, like, Meta has to like have some type of responsibility. And a lot of times you're sending this stuff and it's robots reviewing it and refusing it. Now, back in the day in intellectual property, we had something called contributory infringement, right? Where there was this case, Tiffany versus eBay, where Tiffany actually sued eBay because there was a lot of counterfeit of Tiffany jewelry on eBay and things like that. And so the court said, okay, well, you can't hold them liable for third-party people who are selling these infringing products. But eBay, this is what you must do. You must allow the owner to be able to submit to say this is infringement and have a right where you guys are policing this stuff and taking it down. So that's where the DMCA takedown notice came from. The Digital Copyright Millennium Act or something like that came about, where they are supposed to take it down. But there's, I think too, like, as content creators, they don't want to go after the company that, you know, they're trying to get to pay them, but there has to be some type of responsibility and some type of regulations being held, because there are going to be bad actors. And if no one is stepping up to the plate to do anything, they're creating a very dangerous area, because AI, although it's amazing, it's an amazing tool people can utilize in their business, but there's a lot of people using it for ill intent and wrongdoing as well, right? Just going, and I know he probably don't want me to mention his name this past Sunday, but going back to Drake. So Drake, there was a AI song that was released, and it was like a, you know, fake, and this was before the whole beef or whatever, and you know, they were able to get the song removed and taken down, but it wasn't even because it sounded like Drake, but it was more, what helped it was the fact that they kept dropping a Metro Boomin tag in there. And that was trade, like his thing is like trademark and things. So now you're infringing on his trademark and things like that. There's the point where, you remember that song like Panda? Panda. I thought it was Future at first, right? Right? I thought that was Future, but that was so happened to be Designer, right? Now, you can't sue Designer for sounding like Future if that's what he sounds like. But you should be able to sue somebody who creates an AI-generated song to intentionally sound like an artist to confuse people, you know, and listeners and things like that. So, you know, I think the court really needs to pay close attention and talk about how do we protect ourselves as creators, as you know, business owners, as influencers, and as just the public, period. Because, you know, it's supposed to protect us, but AI is here.
And it's taking over.
And but the courts need to, like, the law needs to do something.
Needs to catch up. I do feel like there needs to be some AI attorneys coming out. I think that needs to be a new niche.
Yeah.
Possibly.
But the thing is, it's like, you got to find these people too.
Yeah,
because they're usually buried under the web somewhere.
I am excited for you. Good Lord. I was like mouth open. Like, you just told me a bunch of stuff. You notice I ain't say nothing. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love this. All right. So tell everyone where they can find you and the name of the show that's coming out on IHQ so we can all stay tuned.
Yes. Well, one thing I want to do is invite you to my upcoming event.
Okay.
It's called Secure Her Brand Social 2.0.
Okay.
Last year we did it in honor of Women's History Month. It's going to be in honor of Women's History Month this year as well. We had over 300 entrepreneurs in the building. We sold out. This year we're doing the same thing. It was from 12 to 8. It was one day.
Okay.
So now this time around, we're adding a VIP day for 50 businesswomen. So if you're a businesswoman and you need more help and you just need more knowledge in your business and things like that, and the ticket price actually comes with a trademark package. So if you need a trademark and you want to come, it's going to be on March 28th, and then the actual event is going to be March 29th with 300 women in the room, where we're just really learning about, I'm going to be teaching people how they can secure their brand with all the different types of intellectual property. We didn't talk about patents. We didn't talk about trademarks.
Yeah, no.
We're also going to talk about how they can secure the business through different type of contracts, because as the business, you should have a written document for each relationship that you're entering into in your business, whether that's with an employee, an independent contractor, a vendor, right, a client, or a customer. And so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how you secure the bag, because a lot of people think, oh, I need an LLC, right? And that might not be the best entity type for you. Although that's what everybody talk about on Instagram, that just might not be the best entity type for you. And then also we'll have a tax specialist come in and talk about how you can really secure the bag through taxes and things like that. And then finally, we're going to talk about how do you secure your legacy.
Ooh.
And your legacy is through estate planning and succession planning. And not a lot of people
I just went through that.
Our culture, We don't want to think about death.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing that's promised to us in life.
I tell everybody, get
Yeah.
you some life insurance, have an IUL, and then a trust. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
A family trust.
And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about like what are probatable assets, and how you can make some things non-probatable assets. So we're going to go through all of that, and that's going to be March 28th. And that's going to be right here in Atlanta, Georgia. And then we have our new talk show coming out, which is Trademark Tea. Yay. So it's, all this tea. That I got to spill. Like, as you can see, I could talk all day about trademarks.
You're good. We're about to run out of tape in 1 minute.
Right.
But tell them your platforms, your profiles.
So follow me at the Biz Lawyer on Instagram. That's THEBIZ Lawyer. Make sure you go download Radiant TV and watch Trademark Tea on IHQ Network.
She's so cute, y'all. And she's smart. We love a smart, cute girl, child. We do. Well, the Biz Lawyer, we appreciate you coming through. And you taught me a lot. Like, we're going to talk a little bit because I'm coming to this event.
I hope people learned a lot from this interview. Oh, and you know what? Tell anybody who is DMing me because of this, just DM me D. We're going to set up.
There you go.
DMD.
Just DM. Yep. D. There you go. There you go.
And we're going to set something up. Yeah?
Yes, I'm here for this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sis. All right. Guys, if you like this kind of content, I know you do, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And, of course, make sure you email us at info@smittyand.com. Again, info@smittyand.com. And until next time, guys, secure the bag, get a trademark, okay? And find yourself a good attorney. And, of course, take care of one another.